Or let's first go back to remote learning in itself. There are options through the State Board of Ed for remote learning for when a classroom of students goes out due to contact tracing or testing positive. We can shift them over to remote learning for a temporary amount of time, into which time we can get enough kids back into the classroom. Now, the waiver process is primarily for a school or classrooms, multiple classrooms. And what happens there, for example, the same thing that occurred at Rockville Elementary this past week. We had grades 3 and 4th and 5, 3 through 5 actually, that were having difficulty staffing. You know, the substitute fill rate was somewhere around 2%, and we didn't have the staff to fill those positions. Therefore, we applied for a waiver, and due to the amount of issues that we had due to staffing, we were allowed to shift those individual class grades, 3 through 5, over to remote learning for 3 days. The other issue that we had that we applied for was the 7th grade at Blackman Middle School. The same issue there. The 7th grade, the entire 7th grade teacher staff was out due to the complications with COVID, and we were having difficulty staffing that 7th grade. We applied for that waiver with the issue being staffing, and were approved. Now, at the time, the waiver was new to us, and we didn't know exactly what the metrics and what was going to be used to determine the approval process. We are told that this is not automatic, so we're trying to provide the information necessary for the commissioner to make that decision. We also applied for Christiana Middle School. Christiana Middle School, we use the percentage of students out of the school due to either contact tracing or COVID. At that time, we had 50% of our students that were out. That was denied. The reason why it was given, because it was denied is because we still had 50% of students in the building, and we were not having any issue with staffing. So that clears that part up. So going forward, what we're doing is we're looking at, for example, if it occurs where certain people in the classroom have to leave us, due to a COVID issue, we will continue on with in-person learning, and we will just simply shift those individuals over to remote learning. If the entire class goes out, we will shift the entire class over to remote learning. And we do not have to ask for a waiver due to the fact this is a single class, and we're addressing it accordingly.
If a student is quarantined at home or they're a positive contact for any reason, a student is absent, the first place for them to be is to be able to check on their teacher's website, or our individual schools have instructed our students to check possibly on Schoology or on Microsoft Teams. Each school has their own process for that. We know that students staying connected to their teacher is the most important process. We want to make sure that our students have access to their teacher. In the event that a student doesn't know where to go, they can always go to our Rutherford County Schools website. The very first slide on our website has links for them to be able to access back to their teacher or their textbooks they need. Third step would be we have our instructional specialists in our instruction department actually have office hours available in which a student would be able to request help, and we can give them help in any of their 4 core content areas: math, ELA, science, or social studies.
To fill our substitute fill rates, we have a referral bonus program of $50 for anybody who refers someone to our Advantage XPO substitute program, and they're able to work X amount of days. We also have additional funding if a person is able to sub for 5 consecutive days in a hard to fill area, called a Tier 1 sub. We have full-time, full day, also part-day substitute opportunities, so very flexible times to work with your schedule. We have many of the schools that have been inviting parents to sign up, maybe at a back-to-school function or a PTO function. So we just need everybody's help and join us in filling our substitute rate.
So you might get a letter from the school saying that your student is being quarantined as a contact of a positive case, and the dates on the letter say that the contact happened several days ago. And that's because by the time, say a student is at school on Wednesday and not feeling well, goes home, stays home Thursday and Friday not feeling well, and they get tested on Friday. If they get a positive test, they let the school nurse know, and that might not happen until Monday. Well, we contact trace for 10 days, for 24 hours prior to onset of symptoms. So onset of symptoms for that child was Wednesday when they were at school. So we have to go back to Wednesday and 24 hours prior to that, Tuesday, to collect all the contacts for that person when they develop symptoms. So those are the ones who would have been exposed when the student was contagious, before they even knew that they were a positive case, before we knew that they were a positive case. The purpose of the COVID hotline is to try to have a central location where parents can report a positive case and get some answers to the frequently asked questions so that the volume of calls at the school level is lower. So if you're going to call, if your student tests positive, you can call that COVID hotline number, give us your student's name, date of birth, the school they go to, and some details around testing and onset of symptoms. We can relay that message quickly to the school and decrease the amount of workload at the school level.
Some parents are experiencing more bus route delays this year versus last year because we've had more of an impact with COVID with our bus drivers. Last year, throughout the year, we had 21 drivers that were unable to complete their runs due to COVID impact. We're already at 20 drivers this year, and we're just a month in. Now, those 20 drivers that have been impacted represent about 54 routes servicing 45 of our schools. These delays can be minor, from 5 to 10 minutes up to 30 and 45 minutes when we're having to completely cover a route with another bus that's already got a full route. But we do want to make sure that we provide an alternate transportation whenever we do have a bus driver go down versus shutting down the route like a lot of other districts in the state have had to do.